What's up everyone? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Work It Out with Rufaro. Thank you so much for coming through. If you haven't subscribed, please click the subscribe button, like and share this video with all your family and friends. Today I'm going to share with you the 5 things that I believe are the most important if you're thinking of relocating to South Africa. And you know what, if you know of someone that you believe might actually benefit from this video, do recommend the video to them and also ask them to subscribe. And one of the reasons why I decided to do this video is because my husband and I are always getting questions on how we did it. And there is a lot that you need to process. So please grab a pen and paper as well, just in case you need to note down something. I'm going to do my best to really break it down so that it's easier to understand, but then within the shortest amount of time. At the same time, I'm also going to include some links to all the resources that we used as we're preparing for this move. My family and I moved to South Africa about 10 months ago, so literally it's been almost a year since we came here. And South Africa is one of the most beautiful and most diverse countries in Africa. It was not, however, my first choice, to be honest. I wanted to go to maybe New Zealand or Scotland because I love me some Mother Nature. But at the same time, you know what, you have to be realistic in terms of the process itself and waiting to get a job offer. It was something that was not easy for us to do, as well as trying to raise the funds that you need to be able to qualify to go to some of these countries. And at the moment, Canada seems to be the place to be or the place to go to. And for a family of 4, we needed about maybe $20,000 minimum to actually qualify to go there. And at that point in time, we just couldn't afford it. Like in any country, South Africa actually has its own visa application process, as well as the requirements that you need to submit before you even think of coming through with the application. You'll find that it's actually easier to relocate to South Africa with all your documentation in place than trying to beat the system, you know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you'll find that the process is actually done, most of it anyway, is done online. And you'll find that there's limited interaction with people, and the only time that you're actually going to maybe physically interact with someone is when you go through to submit your paperwork. Everything is done through a company called VFS, and they are the ones that then take your application and send it to either the South African Embassy or DHA. And you find that they are in some countries, they still have South African Embassy as their point, as their main point, but most of the stuff that's being done right now is through VFS. When you're submitting your documentation to VFS, you'll find that you need to pay 2 different processing fees. You pay a processing fee to VFS, and then you pay another processing fee to DHA. And you'll find that actually makes the whole process to some extent expensive, because it's not everyone who will be able to afford that, to be able to afford the processing fees. And sometimes it becomes a challenge when you're trying to renew your visa, or even just trying to make the initial application for that. Most of the process is done online. You need to book your appointment on the website, and you also need to make sure that you've paid, you've got your proof of payment. And when you go through those doors, they search you like you're going through airport security. It's like a tight-knit kind of situation and process that you go through. So there are like over 10 different types of visas, and it's very important for you to do your homework, try to understand which visa is the most suitable for you and your family or your current situation, so that you don't pick a visa that when you then get it, you realize that it's not able to give you the benefits that you were looking for, whether it's to work, to study, or to start a company. You find that for my husband and I, we decided to get work visas, and we applied for these separately because of the reason that we were just trying to minimize risks. Sometimes there are risks that are involved when you are attached to someone else's visa. So God forbid anything happens to my husband, my visa is still valid because I applied for it separately. But if I was attached to him either as a spouse or as a relative, if anything happens to him, then that means my visa is nullified, and I might need to go through the process of having to apply for my own visa again and face rejection because it was based on someone else's visa. and if they're no longer there, you might actually find yourself going through a very difficult time. If you're coming to South Africa to seek employment, then you need to be on 2 visas. From the ones that I know of, you can either be on a general work visa or on a critical skills visa. You find that the critical skills visa has more options, and I'm going to talk about it more because that's the one that we decided to opt for. So whatever profession that you're in, whether you're an engineer or you're a doctor or you're a customer experience professional, you need to make sure that your profession is listed on what is called a critical skills list. I've put down the link as well so that you can get access to that and you can be able to browse through to see if your profession is on the critical skills list. And if you find your profession there, then it means that you can apply for this particular visa. The visa has got different benefits. You are given the work visa and it's valid for about 5 years. Your family or your spouse can be attached to it. You're allowed to work. And you can also study whilst you're on a critical skills visa. You can study in South Africa whilst you're on a critical skills visa. With the general work visa, I don't know a lot about it, so I'm not going to go into it. But you can also use the resources that I've shared to find out more about the general work visa. And for the critical skills visa, you find that once you're on it, it becomes easier, or it's considered to be an easier route to get to permanent residence. Because soon after you get your critical skills visa, you can apply for permanent residency, which also actually enables you to get a South African ID. And obviously after 10 years, then you can become a South African citizen. To actually secure a critical skills visa, you need to make sure that your profession is recognized, like I mentioned before, and you need to go through a process of being registered with a professional body within South Africa. If you're an engineer, there's a professional body for that. They need to evaluate your work experience and your qualifications to say that yes, you are qualified and yes, we may need someone like you in South Africa. And then for your education, as far as your degrees are concerned, you also need to submit your degree, your certificate to the SAQA, and that is like a regulatory body within South Africa that then evaluates your degree according to South African standards to see which level you're on. There's like an NQF level 1 up until 10, and 10 being the highest where you've got a PhD. In our situation, my husband left first, and then the girls and I only followed him about like a year later. And during that entire time, what really caused the delay was the fact that I was waiting for my visa to come out. Mine took about 7 months. Yes, guys, 7 months for it to come out. And you find that in some cases, a child can be conceived and come into this world, be delivered into this world, and you're still waiting for your visa application to come out. Just because you've made through the application, it doesn't guarantee that it will be approved. There are some cases where it can be rejected, and you need to be as thorough as possible and make sure that you've tied up all the loose ends so that they don't find a loophole or a mistake that you've made that may make the application be rejected. And once the application is rejected, it's not the end, guys. You've got 2 options. You can either appeal to have that rejection overturned, or you can just reapply and start the whole process all over again. At least now you have a bit of understanding as to what you need to do, and you need to really make sure that whatever visa you decide to choose, it actually works in your advantage and provides the benefits that you're looking for yourself, for your partner, and for your family. I struggle with people who think that Johannesburg is South Africa, or who think Pretoria is Johannesburg. No, guys, it doesn't work like that. South Africa has got like 3 capital cities. It's got Bloemfontein, Cape Town, and Pretoria. Yes, Johannesburg is the largest city, but it's not the capital city of South Africa. So if you think you're just going to rock up to Park Station, call your friend or your relative because you heard that they stay in Pretoria, and you think that it's going to be easy for them to come and pick you up, you might actually find yourself sleeping there because the suburbs are far apart, the cities are far apart, the towns are far apart. And in my case, I stay in Gauteng, but I haven't been to the Johannesburg area in like I don't know how long. And I've been here almost a year, and I've only been to that area like 3 or 4 times because I've got no business there. But it also shows you how large this country is, and that there is a lot that you need to consider when you're now looking for a place to stay. So you find that for us, the biggest things that you really wanted to take into consideration as far as location was concerned was because of South Africa having one of the highest crime statistics in the world. And that can be very intimidating and scary when you're thinking of moving, as well as bringing your children along on your journey. And for us, security was one of the biggest issues. So we tried to look for a town that didn't have a lot going on in terms of crime, because crime here can range from rape to murder to xenophobia, and you've got armed robberies. Those things are real. And as far as xenophobia is concerned, guys, that stuff is real. If you go to a place where they sing the national anthem and they ask you to finish it, and you don't know the next few words or the next few lines, you might actually find yourself in a very difficult situation. But as far as xenophobia is concerned, it's targeted mainly at African nationals, and other people who don't look like me are not necessarily affected. One thing that's also very important to note, guys, is that xenophobia is not everywhere. So yes, as far as security is concerned, and you need to look at where you're staying, know that it's not everywhere. It's not everyone who has negative feelings towards African foreign nationals. And you find that even last year when there was xenophobic attacks, we didn't experience it within our area. Of course, we're definitely concerned, and you definitely be cautious as you're moving around, but there was no violence. So you find that it is in specific areas, in specific parts of the country where things like that do happen. So if you're looking for a location, the important thing to consider is security, safety. How safe is the area? If you're going to be going to work, do you need to commute that often? Do you need to go there by train? Do you need to go there by car? You need to take a taxi? How are you going to be commuting? Because the towns are far apart. So you find that in the area that I stay, if I decide that I want to stay in Johannesburg, I want to work in Johannesburg, they actually have to commute either by train to save cost, or if I'm going to be using a car, I need to be prepared to maybe, in some cases, spend a bit more. So you find that for us, it was security, it was the work location where we're going to be working, as well as the education. So you find that as far as schools are concerned, school quality or the level of quality, the quality of education can actually very much differ depending on the area that you stay in. So it's not necessarily that it's standardized across the entire country. There are some areas that tend to have better education than others. So for us, we wanted to make sure that the girls had a good starting point and they had a solid and grounded educational framework to at least start on, and we needed to be comfortable with the quality of education that they're going to be getting within the areas that we decided on. South Africa has got like 11 official languages, So it literally is the rainbow nation. There's a lot of different things going on as far as culture is concerned, different values, different beliefs, and it's very rich in its diversity, which makes it very unique in the way that things just happen around you. And in our area, you find that SAQA and Afrikaans are the mostly used, and languages like English. It's not everyone who actually speaks English. English is like the 4th most used language within South Africa. You find that the locals actually enjoy speaking within their mother tongues, and they love speaking in their native languages. So actually do you some good if you could try and learn some of those languages so that you can better interact with people around you. And in my case, I had to download a few apps on Google Play Store because I use an Android phone, and I downloaded apps on how to learn Setswana and how to learn Afrikaans. I'm still not good at it because I guess you need to practice more and interact more. They're actually very difficult languages for me to learn, but I've tried to understand so that even if someone is communicating with me, I'm able to, impress them with 1 or 2 lines so that they know that I'm trying to fit into their society and I respect their culture and I'm really trying to fit in and be a part of who they are. And they find that there are some people that actually appreciate that, and they appreciate the effort that you then put into all of that. The culture is very interesting. There's a lot of sporting activities going on here. People are passionate about rugby, cricket, soccer. So when the Springboks are playing or when the national team is playing, you'll find that it's a huge event and everyone is rocking in those green and gold colors, and people are just happy and they're excited. It really brings out the spirit of Ubuntu. If you togetherness, if you then try to also participate in those activities, you find that it's fun and it's interesting and it's definitely engaging. They do a lot of chisanyama, that's going out with your friends on a Friday night. You have a braai, you can have drinks. So they do a lot of that. They eat a lot of meat. People eat here a lot of meat, especially Buvos. People eat a lot of meat here. But anyway, so you get a bit of understanding of what I'm talking about as far as the culture is concerned. And it's very important for you to just understand that if you're going to be closed-minded when you come to this place, you may struggle to fit in, because people here are very liberal, they're very opinionated, and they're not as conservative as other African nations. And they really just try to accept people as they are, and they don't try to change you or force certain beliefs upon you. And that is based on my experience. Schooling is actually a very important issue that you need to consider. Remember, I mentioned that we've got children, and for us they're still in school, and that journey is still very much a part of going to be how we're going to be making decisions going forward. And remember that I also mentioned that the location that you decide to settle down in actually has a bearing to some extent on the quality of education that you're going to have access to. And you also needed to make sure that you could afford the level of education that we wanted. When you're looking at the South African education system, in my opinion, I'm very happy with it. And I believe that it is to some extent more advanced to where my children were before. And the system is like split into 4 parts. You've got your primary, you've got your higher, your secondary, and you've got your university. And you find that as you go through those different stages, as far as documentation is concerned, the part that's most important, particularly when you've got children, is at the beginning. When they're going through daycare or creche or whatever it is, kindergarten, what you just need to make sure is that you've got your immunization card, you've got your birth certificate, and of course their passport with you when you're going to apply for a place. But from the time that they then turn 7 and they're going into grade 1, then they definitely need to have a study permit. And this applies if you haven't already attached them to your PR, if you're on a PR, for example. And you need to make sure that you then have the right documentation. Otherwise, your child may not be able to get into the school that you want, or you may not be able to be accepted to any school, because they will ask for the study permit. If the study permit is required, depending on which visa you're on. As far as the medical aid is concerned, medical aid is expensive in this country compared to Zimbabwe. Medical aid is expensive and it's kind of pricey, and you need to also look at that to see which one you'll be able to afford, and make sure that it actually is able to provide the benefits that you require for you and your family. For us, we're not even on any expensive or medical aid scheme. We just decided for one that we believed was able to cover the essentials for our family, particularly for our children. And you find that you can afford, you can find one that is within your budget, but it also takes time to understand how it all works. So you need to do a bit of research around that before you decide to relocate to South Africa. Going into bread and butter issues, now we're looking at the numbers. I really won't go into detail as far as some of the numbers are concerned. I mean, they're kind of private, but I will share with you that from the time that we started this visa application process and preparing for the move, we spent about 46,000 Rand on the visa application process itself. And this is for a family of 4 people. And you'll find that it's very important now to do your numbers when you're considering relocating to South Africa, because you need to see if you're able to afford the costs and whether you've got the right resources to prepare you, not just for the visa application process, but even when you then move, before you start looking for a job, if you haven't secured a job yet, you need to make sure that you've got savings put in place so that you can be able to cover rent, medical aid, groceries, the things that you put on your monthly budget every other month. And you'll find that with the visa application process, this 46,000 rand that I'm talking about actually covers your police clearance, your medical examination process that you have to go through. It covers your memberships, it covers your SAQA, and you need to find, it actually covers those things that I've been talking about from the beginning to the end. From the time that we started staying here in the past year, our monthly costs, really, our top 3 monthly costs as far as cost of living is concerned in this country are: number 1, rent. That's the highest actually. Rent is the highest, followed by medical aid, and then groceries. So medical aid is more expensive than food. When you decide to make a move that is very serious, such as relocation, take a deep breath and plan. Don't panic. Don't think about, oh my God, this is too hard. Yes, it's very difficult, because for my family and I, it took us an entire year for us to be able to apply and uproot and then start over. And the process is very stressful. It's very draining. So what I can tell you, that at the end of the day, you need to make sure that you've got a good support system. That's like the best tip that I can give you. That's like your tip of the day, your tip of the month, in fact your tip of the year, but you get what I mean. You need to make sure that you've got a very solid support system. For us, we had friends and we had family that were not even our immediate family members, that sort of helped us along the way to try and understand how things work, the application process, and having to settle down here, choosing a school, because they had done it before. And they also didn't try to sugarcoat and tell you that it's going to be easy. No, it's been hard, because remember, you're leaving everything that you know to start something new, and there's nothing more scarier than that. And you find that the reason why people then don't relocate is the fear of failure and the fear of not being able to achieve the things that they wanted to. And it's very difficult now when you then let the fear of failure just overwhelm you, because that means that you may actually never take the leap. Or each and every time something happens and things get a bit tough, you're ready to pack your bags and go. I know I've missed my mommy. I've missed my mommy so many times. I've called my mommy so many times. But I am happy to say that so far the journey has been rewarding. So make sure that you've got a very strong and sound support system. Go to church, be part of a community, make friends, interact with family and friends that have been through it, and some of them will guide you. And make sure you pick them wisely, because remember, it's not everyone that wants you to succeed. That is just the reality of life. It's not everyone who wants this move for you to succeed. Some will be waiting for you to fail to say, you know what, we told them. They want to go to South Africa. People are dying in South Africa. There's hunger, or there's poverty, or there's xenophobia. And people are waiting for you to just pack your bags and come home so that they can tell you that, yes, we told you this does not work. But in the end, this is your journey. And you owe it to yourself to try. If you really feel it in your heart that you want to relocate, then it's really important for you to try than to live with regret. And always wonder if you could have been able to achieve whatever it is that you wanted to set out for yourself. So that's it from me, guys, and I hope that you benefited from this video. Please recommend this video to anyone who you believe can benefit here. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, do subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on anything. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, on Instagram. I do have a few posts, I think, floating around on Pinterest. But anyway, please subscribe to the channel, show your girl some love and support. and let's help this community to grow. I enjoy doing this thing with you, and I hope that you know what, you can also benefit more from me. So guys, this